Palace 2, Wolves 0. Got what we deserved. Out-fought, out-muscled, all over the pitch. Palace did a complete job on us, and to be fair, I think they're a good side, Palace. I think the most concerning thing from a Wolves point of view is just the consistency. You look how good that first half was against Everton, and the second half, whilst we didn't play as well, it was a different type of performance, battling, defending well. None of that was really there today. You never sensed that we were ever going to really cause Palace any major problems. Really disappointing. It's easy to pick holes in where we need improvements. A bit of energy from midfield. Conor Gallagher at Palace, breaking forward. Getting in behind, making runs in behind. That's not what we've got. Even when Dendoncker plays, he might make those runs, but he's not exactly what we need. We need someone who's really going to bust a gut to get up there, because when we do get in the final third, I think we look a little bit lost. I felt the subs of Adama and Podence were just completely reactionary. I'm not trying to be too negative, but as I say, I think the game was crying out from half time, to be honest, for Traore. He seems to prefer Podence. I know they've come on together today, but it just seems, I don't know, there's just something not quite right with the whole Adama situation. I understood him not playing against Everton, but I feel like today we just needed that outlet to really break Palace down. So disappointing, as I say, disappointing way to go into the international break. It's as I say, we've had a really good run of form recently, but ultimately it was just one step too far, and it's frustrating because every time we've got a chance of sort of going into that top six, we seem to bottle it a little bit. But it is what it is. I'm not overly concerned. I just think the manner of the performance today did remind me a little bit of Nuno Ball, the stuff that we clearly desperate to move on from. I think it's clear to see we do need a couple of extra bodies in January, just for a little bit of refreshment in the starting 11, and also just some better options off the bench, particularly midfield. And again, I don't think Saïs played particularly bad today. Obviously, we've got Willy Bolly on the bench, but another out and out brute of a centre half. You look at Palace today, and Anderson and Guehi, they just didn't look troubled at all. So, as I say, not overly concerned, but just a really disappointing way to go into the international break.
Wow, not a very good day at the office at all. Palace beat Wolves 2-0. And it's weird because we played the exact same lineup as we did against Everton, but the difference was against Everton, we were on the front foot and really went at them first half. Yes, Everton had injuries and were a poor side, and Palace are much better than Everton, on today's shown at least, but we did sit back and just try and contain Palace that first half, and we were lucky to go in 0-0 doing that. I would have liked to see us be a bit more adventurous, but it felt like the Palace pitch was so small. They had all the control of the game. Palace pressured us on the front foot the whole game, and I was just waiting for us to respond and at least attack or something, and it just felt like it just never came, and we dwindled into the second half. They eventually get the goal through Zaha, quite a poor clearance from Semedo, I think it was, and then a through ball. I was buzzing because I thought it was offside, but then VAR overturned it. We then think we've got a penalty. VAR overturned that, give us a free kick. So if VAR didn't exist, would have been 1-0 up. Obviously clutching at straws. We didn't deserve it. Palace were the much better team today. They wanted it more. They pressed more. They got their tactics spot on. And I think we helped them as well with the way we approached the game. Quite naive from Bruno Lage, which I think is quite fair to say. He's been brilliant for us this season, so I'm not going to be too harsh on him. But yeah, tactically, he just got it wrong today by sitting back. But maybe that weren't his tactics. Maybe Palace just made us sit back. I don't know. But we hardly had a chance. We hardly had a sniff, really, did we? It's hard to think of a clear-cut chance we had. And fair play to Palace. They got their second goal. Big deflection off Cody, but pretty easy for Gallagher to stride past Saïs the way he did. And the game was done in before that, in my opinion. I just didn't think we were going to equalise. It was just one of them. He brings Traore on, right wing back, brings Podence on. Why bring Traore right wing back? I don't know. I think he should have took Wang off and put Traore on for him, but that was his decision. And nothing really happened, did it? And we just dwindled away and lost 2-0. Very poor performance. We could have gone fifth with a win today, but would that have been a bit too high for the way we've been playing? I don't know. Back down to reality a little bit, because we've had a great run of games, haven't we? And we've got a tough December coming up, and hopefully we can get to January, still be plugging in and around mid-table, make some signings, and kick on from there. But let's not be too harsh on the lads because we're still sitting in a decent position in the table. It's just a very poor performance today. But you've got to give credit to Crystal Palace. They've drew a lot of games this season, but they've got a comfortable win today. And I think they deserved it. I can't really praise many players for us today, to be honest. I thought everyone was very average. Cheers for having me on Talking Wolves. It's my 30th birthday today, so I'm off to go and get hammered at a party. But yeah, cheers Dave, cheers Matt, love you all. See you in a bit.
So Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 0 today at Selhurst Park. Wasn't good, was it? Wolves were woeful going forward. No cohesion in the attack at all. Jimenez and Hwang looked like they've met each other for the first time today. Absolutely nothing like the really good build-up play we've seen them to combine before. Trincao not in the game today, non-existent. He couldn't hack it. The atmosphere today, we were pressed, and we seem to go to pieces when we're pressed by teams heavily as well, which is why I think Traore should have played today instead of Trincao, who I thought was good on Monday night. But today, it just wasn't the game for him. We knew Everton would come to Molineux on Monday, sit back and wait for us to attack them. And we did. We did very well against them and deserved to beat them. But we also knew today that we'd be going to Selhurst Park, and a Patrick Vieira's side, who've done very well so far this season, would not just sit back and let us play our attacking football. So we needed to be the ones that sat back while they pressed us. And we needed to have an outball like Traore on the wing so he could do the stuff. When it came on, well, the game was really sailing towards a conclusion, and Gallagher gets the second goal after the first goal, ruled out by VAR originally, well, ruled out by the linesman and then given by VAR because Zaha was onside, and Connor Cody trailing behind everyone again, playing him onside. It's a shame because he has had a decent game in the last few, but not today. He was pretty poor along with Romain Saiz. Ryan Aït-Nouri, once again, probably our best attacker today, and that's really saying something. Did well, thought he'd won a penalty just outside the area. It was just Wolves' luck today. It was just how it went. And, well, nothing came to anything. And I think the Neves shot, which went about 50 yards over the bar, really summed up the day. Miserable performance, miserable weather. Poor for the away fans having to come back tonight after seeing such a terrible performance. In the past, I think I've been harsh on Wolves in the game against Villa. I think they did quite well to hang in there, but there was nothing today that really showed us that we were going anywhere fast in terms of this season if we keep putting in performances like today, because we can be so hit and miss. On Monday night we were brilliant, excellent in the first half. Today, non-existent, and barely created a chance from open play at all. It's no more than what I expected today. I did think we would struggle against Crystal Palace, but I didn't think we would struggle this much and turn out such a bad performance and a bad result. And, well, there's not a whole lot else to say, really. Everyone was average in the game. Graham Scott was not good, the referee, but we can't blame him because Bucks Moutinho for not even touching Edouard, who just dives to the floor. But that's not the reason we lost the game today. Substitutions, I think, need to be made a lot earlier. They're being made after major match events happen. Like, they're there to impact the game. Podence and Traore should have come on at 0-0 when we were being bossed. You could see for about 10 minutes. It was leading up for Palace to score. And when they eventually did, I wasn't surprised. And Bruno Lage needs to sort that out because the subs against Everton were way too late. When we were hanging on at home, the subs against Newcastle, when we were hanging on at home, were way too late as well. And he made them just as we went 1-0 down, but at that stage, the damage was done. On to the next game after the international break against West Ham. We're still in a decent position in the league. There's absolutely no need to panic. 1-4 of our last 5. We've done quite well in this little run. Didn't think we'd win today, and as it turns out, we haven't. Let's just hope we can bounce back against West Ham after the international break. Wolves lose at Selhurst Park by 2-0.
Oh dear, not good at all. Totally outclassed, really. You're all right with that if you're playing a Chelsea or a City or a Liverpool. You take them. But this one for me, I'm coming into it. It's a winnable game. Palace have been very good at home this season, granted. But when you match the teams up on paper, you think that they've got some good individuals. So obviously Zaha's always dangerous. Conor Gallagher's having a really good season. But you'd think you got the beating of them. But I just don't know why we set up for away games just to try and contain and nick a point. It's I know the same players as what Nuno had, bar Hwang. But I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. I want us to have a bit more of a go. And if you have a go and lose 2-0, you've been like, well, we had a go. But today we didn't even threaten. I think as a team we don't resist the press very well at all. I think we lack serious legs in the middle. Neves is obviously unbelievable. Moutinho, has his good days and bad days, but obviously the last few years has been very good. But we just got outrun today. And teams who press us, Leeds, Brentford, have all kind of got the same result. I know the Leeds goal, the Leeds game, we were lucky to get away with it. But I think we're screaming out for a bit more athleticism today. We just got completely overrun. Had no legs. Jimenez looked lost up top on his own. But I also don't really get the substitutions. I don't really get bringing Traore on at right wing back just to kind of shoehorn him onto the pitch. You should have took maybe Cody off and push him further, or even just swap him for Hwang, because Hwang wasn't in the game, and Traore's not going to be effective from right wing back. You need to get him further up the pitch. But they were far more athletic than us today, far stronger, far quicker, wanted it more, and we got what we deserved. And it's really disappointing going into the international break a loss like that. Just don't get how 1 week we can look like world beaters in the first half against Everton, and the next week look absolutely shite. It's just so inconsistent. Whether, I don't know. I just want to see us have a go though away from home, especially like Palace. Like I said, they're having a good season, but there's argument there that we are the better side, and we're also having an half decent season. But got to start turning it around away from home, and just iron out those inconsistencies. We're crying out for a midfielder who can resist the press, such as Renato Sanchez. Not going to happen, is it? Now we've said that. But just a bit more steel, a bit more athleticism. Like we got overrun today, got exactly what we deserved. I don't think any particular player played well. I thought they all had a very poor game, and it's a tough one to take. I'm just kind of glad I'm at home and I haven't travelled down there, because I feel for those who've gone down there today to watch that. But international break. West Ham when we get back, and again another tough game, the tough run in December. I think these next 2 or 3 weeks will be pivotal as to what kind of deals we do in January. But we're crying out for a couple of players. So back Bruno. He's obviously still the man for the job in my eyes. I've seen a few people say he's not. I don't believe in that. We've had good games, we've had bad games. We're allowed bad days in the office, but it's how we react to them, and we need a reaction against West Ham after this.
So, Crystal Palace 2, Wolves 0, and the unbeaten run, unfortunately, comes to an end at Selhurst Park in what was a very, very average performance, let's be honest. Very, very poor, very, very off the pace. But fair play to Crystal Palace. I thought, in particular, they were really, really impressive today. I even said in the podcast that I would take a point coming into this game. Very, very tough fixture, unbeaten at home, playing some really good football under Patrick Vieira, and they've got some really good players. So I couldn't speak highly enough about Crystal Palace today, because they were superb. They pressed us off the park. We couldn't deal with it at all. And we struggled to get the ball through the midfield. The defence was struggling with the pressure that was put on them. So whilst you can be very complimentary about Palace, of course we're here to talk about Wolves and how poor that performance was. Just set up wrong, I think. Yet again, too defensive. I can kind of see why you would want to sit in and cope with the pressure, but I think that we don't really have the defence to be able to do that. I think that they don't really deal well with being under pressure for sustained periods of time. And because we weren't on the ball often enough, we couldn't get into any sort of rhythm on the ball, which was issues that we've had previously. So I guess it does work in one sense to try and contain Palace, because they are an attacking side, but I also think that it limited us then to get used to the ball, get warmed up on the ball properly, and get anything going forward. But again, it was the midfield, I think, that was the sort of the key issue, really. They pressed us so well in midfield that we couldn't retain possession whatsoever. I think that's where you need to maybe look into reinforcements for January. Someone like a Renato Sanchez that can keep hold of the ball and get us up the pitch. I thought Moutinho and Neves today were just completely dominated physically. We struggled to get anything out to the wings as well. I thought Trincao, again, really, really poor. Still yet to see too much from him. He was decent against Everton, but poor today. Hwang couldn't get into the game, neither could Raul. And the defending for both goals was absolutely atrocious. In particular, the first goal. I mean, I don't know what on earth
Cody and Saiss are doing, keeping Zaha onside, miles behind the defensive line on the edge of the box. And again, I think just shows that defensive reinforcements are needed in January, as we've said all season. But at the same time, you know, if you put your positive hat on it, 1 defeat in the last 6, which is a very, very decent record when you consider the fact that we do have a fairly bare-bones squad when it comes to the defence and the midfield. I think today was just an off day, a real off performance. We've had a couple of those recently, to be honest. We've been quite inconsistent. But I think that, you know, Bruno Lage is an inexperienced manager, he's a young manager. So I wouldn't be too down about the state of things at the moment. We're still only a couple of points off top 7. But yeah, today was just a very, very off-colour performance, and one that Bruno needs to take a look at and maybe think that, you know, playing a defensive style of football and trying to contain teams isn't always going to work. We did the same thing against Leeds, same thing against Southampton. I think it's a bit of a concern that a lot of teams that we play that press the ball, we do struggle against. But that's something to be worked on. There's still inconsistencies to be sorted out of this team. And I think that, you know, a switch in personnel, particularly in defence, wouldn't be amiss. And some reinforcements, obviously, we know that we need. But yeah, not a great performance today. Not really much to say on it, to be honest, because we didn't create anything. Palace just dominated us for the entire game. I thought Jose Sarr, his kicking as well in particular, was poor. Standout performances, I thought Kilman had another excellent showing. Dealt with Zaha very well. I thought Aït-Nouri and Semedo were okay in patches. But yeah, overall just not fantastic. Real null and void performance, just a nothing performance, nothing going forward, nothing to really shout about. Palace were just really good. But we've got a chance to recover. We got West Ham at home. Very good form as well. That's another really, really tough game, going into a tough run of fixtures now, to be honest. But hopefully we can get something there and just wipe this one off the face of wipe this one out of our memories and just forget about it.
Well, that was a stinker. Painful watch for the whole game, really. Never got going in the first half. Set the theme for the whole game, didn't it? Flat. Really, really flat. You're not going to win a game if you can't put a few passes together going forwards. Palace deserved the win. Better team on the day, even though, again, I don't think they were great. We never got going. We never challenged them in many aspects. Yeah. Don't want to lose going to the international breaks, but that's what's happened. So your form's going before that, but I suppose it gives the chance to lads to refresh, go again. West Ham's going to be a tough game at home, but looking forward to it. So see if we can get something back out of that. First half was a bit of a non-event for both teams. Not a lot happened. Palace had more at the ball, but yeah, flat, rubbish, neutral. You'd be peed off, wouldn't you, if you'd watched that. Second half, I really thought we'd change something at half time. Maybe not a sub, but just tactically, you know, tweak something. But we didn't. It seemed to be the exact same from us. But Palace again come out well and sort of took the game to us in many aspects. It's easy to say Bruno got the team selection wrong after the game, but you've won against Everton 2-1, played well for most of the game. You start the same team. Trincao for one. Again, it's easy to say he wasn't very effective today, but you've got to start him after 60 good minutes against Everton. But he never got going. Maybe you could give him the hook a little bit quicker. I'd have maybe put Trier up there personally, especially bringing him on at wing back was a bit strange. He's not going to affect the game from back there. You want him receiving the ball high up to attack people, you know, in the last third, maybe put it on him. He scares people, doesn't he? And he's not scaring anyone back with wing back, to be honest. So, but Palace were quite happy to see him come on there and not really affect much. Suppose I can give a shout out to Kilman, had a good game. Again, no shock though, is it? Let's be honest, no shock. Doing really well this year. Good little battle with Zaha. I think he got the better of in the end. And as Zaha got his goal, it wasn't really his fault. That goal's frustrating, isn't it? Sarr sort of flapping on the edge of his box. I suppose then he recovers. But Semedo, as a professional footballer, has got to absolutely smack that ball down the pitch. You know, he's just watched the keeper flap at it. It's on his strong foot. Just get rid of it. And he's made a right hash of that clearance. Straight to a Palace player on the edge of the box, really. But nitpicking, I suppose. There's a lot more errors in there than just that. I suppose never got to pick back up and go again. Shout out for Aït-Nouri again though, because he looks better each game. He's still doing well. I think you just got to keep playing the lad and let him learn the Premier League. Probably our best attacking threat today as well. So yeah, good for him. yeah, West Ham after the international break is going to be tough, but let's hope we can get some points on the board again and go again.